Welcome back, everybody, to Driven to Live. We're your hosts, Stephen Rivers and Jesus Garcia. This week, we got a lot of topics to cover, including Jesus's recent drive in the Hyundai Elantra N Line. We're talking party bus versus limo and how the days of the limo have dwindled down to almost nothing. We're going to remind you about recalls. We're going to talk about Toyota quite a bit. We're going to talk about hybrids and how that's affected the company and the future of the company, and both Jesus and I's experience with some of Toyota's most prestigious hybrids out there right now. We're going to talk about my little trip to Sonoma last week, where I got to drive quite a few Toyotas on the track there at Sonoma Raceway. To kick things off, though, let's start with Jesus telling us about his recent experience with the Hyundai Elantra N Line.
Yeah, so that's what I've been driving this week. I took it up for those native to Texas to College Station, the whole Hill Country area. I was part of a rally. It was called, the Brown Top Rally. They had the second year they do it. Basically, it was just my little Hyundai surrounded by McLarens, Corvette C8s, Stinger Porsches. They even had 150s Mercedes Goldwing, which was righteously cool. And we got to see that thing haul ass and keep up with traffic. Just a sight for so I was like, wow. He's like, you don't expect that car to be that. You forget that it is one of the first supercars. But anyways, my little N line kept up with everything without any trouble. And out of all those cars, even I was pressing the gas just to keep up with them, doing 80, 90, maybe a little bit over triple digits. I was still getting 24 miles to the gallon, which is really nice. I mean, I was really impressed with that car. It's a sporty, compact sedan, which is you don't hear those words combined anymore as often as you used to. Now, for those of you unaware, this is the Elantra from Hyundai. It has the same 2.0 liter turbocharged engine from the Veloster, which was discontinued in 2022. It makes with this modifications 286 horsepower when you put it in, in N mode. And it comes with an 8-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual, which if you have the means, go for the manual because it's more fun. But you're talking about a little car that can do 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, which is plenty fast for what you're going to use in modern traffic. And oddly enough, when I was driving it to the location, which is about 200 miles away, in normal driving conditions, highway, you're getting out, at least I was getting almost 40 miles per gallon. I was getting 37 mpg average, which is phenomenal. And it's got a small tank. So to fill it up, 25, 20 bucks. So really impressive. I think it's like a little bit of, it looks like a baby shark in the front end, the smush front end. And I like the little design it has. Like you got a little spoiler in the back. You got the nice big old red brake calipers, the nice wheels inside. The little N on the bucket seats glow in the dark. I didn't notice until I was like, you see, McLarens don't do that. And again, this is a car that that's for today's times is reasonably affordable. Like you're talking like 27, 28, 20, 30. Like, it's reasonable for the current times. And I mean, I also had two passengers in the back. One of them was 6'6", the other one was 6'2", and they both, they kind of grunted to get in and kind of fold themselves into the back seat. The ones that were in, no problems. Their knees weren't crumpled together, their heads weren't scratching the roof line, plenty of space, a lot of trunk space, which also impressed me because I had to carry a whole bunch of artwork with me because that was another mission I went there. I went to an art gallery to kind of try and sell one of my art pieces. Sold three, really proud of them.
I was gonna say you didn't try, you succeeded, bro.
Yeah, first time I ever tried to sell artwork, so nice social experiment to kind of see
R-
hey, what people can
Remind everybody where they can buy these, Jesus.
you can buy them on my website, jesusbehindthewheel.com, or just send me a DM through Instagram at Jesus Behind the Wheel also if you want your own custom artwork, which I can do. These are all digitally hand drawn. The whole point of at least my style is if you have a dream car, if you have a personal car, you have a project car, and you say, I want to draw my car. And my response is great. What do you want it to be doing? You want it to be, being chased by the police? Do you want it to be driven on the moon? Do you want to be abducted by aliens? What do you want? That's the whole point of this. It's like a cartoon, so hybrid
This
car.
is this is such a good example, this Jaws one, bro, with the Amphicar.
That was one that I sold because the guy who bought it told me that he's obsessed with sharks. And so that kind of connected with him. He even told me, he's like, yeah, one of my dream deaths is to be eaten by sharks. I was like,
Oof.
cool, pay through here, please.
The kind of people that buy Jesus's art have dream deaths, everybody.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
And first of all, I didn't think that that would be, I was like, because he's like, his whole thing behind it is like, yeah, I want to go out fighting. So yeah, you're gonna go out fighting a shark. A little traumatic, but all right, hey, that's.
I mean, you're going out losing. I don't know how much I love that, but you know, it is
I
what
mean,
it is, I guess.
I mean, if I had to go, I would pick a more tranquil way or a more instant way. But hey, that's he loves sharks. What can I say? But yeah, overall, the Hyundai Elantra N Line, fantastic little car. I did not think I was gonna like it that much when because I first got into it. You feel the bucket seats, and right away they feel stiff and hard. You're like, oh no, this is gonna be uncomfortable for a long road trip. But it's amazing how quickly you get used to it, and it's just the car just flows, man. It's a really surprising little car. If for those of you looking for just a small commuter car that gets good MPG and has so awesome performance, that one is one to seriously consider. It is a hot little car, and um, I think a little underrated.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I have driven the N line from several years ago. Granted, it hasn't been any time recently, but I was very fortunate to take one to the top of Pikes Peak, um, and I could not agree more. It is such a fun, functional, playful little car, and it's kind of it's it's probably the closest thing to a Honda Civic Si that you could get without getting a Honda Civic Si, really. And Hyundai's got a way better warranty.
Yeah.
I also like their dual clutch automatic is way better than the Honda automatic, in my opinion.
You put your foot down, it shifts hard, but goes in, kind of throws you back. Really cool. And like, I mean, at least in my personal opinion, I think the Hyundai Elantra looks way better than the current gen Honda Civic. That's just my 2 cents. But yeah, that's one car. Like if I had to go buy just a sporty little car, that'd be the one because it's not just cool and gives you that satisfaction for Need for Speed, but it's also very practical. Like if you want to do Uber, that'll work. It does. People can fit in it. You can't fit luggage in the back. You're not gonna waste any money on gas with it either. And it doesn't take premium fuel either way. You can put it, but it doesn't demand it like other performance turbocharged engines, which is another
Yeah,
benefit to it.
that's a great point, dude. You're totally right. Totally saves a lot of money not having to put premium in there if you don't want to afford it.
So you can if you want, but it's not gonna you pop over the gas cap. It's not gonna say in big letters, premium fuel only or
Yeah.
recommended. Doesn't say anything. You put the cheap stuff you want. Put tequila in there if you want. It'll run.
That is not an official statement from Hyundai, everyone. Just heads up. Although
No,
it'd be interesting to see what would happen.
as a joke, people do not put tequila in your engine and come at me when it says the car's broke down on me. I did not tell you to say it. It's just a joke.
Moving on. Party bus versus limos. Now, this is fascinating. I did not think about this, but when I was growing up 45 years ago, limos were the bee's knees. Everybody wanted a limo. It was a cool thing to show up to like high school parties in limos and show up to big events in limos, and they really don't seem to exist much anymore.
No, I visited a body shop that also doubled as a car service, limos, party buses, and that kind of thing. I was like, cool. And then I walked into that the yard, and I saw maybe one or two ancient Hummer H2 stretch limos and a one town car limo, but the rest was just Mercedes Sprinter vans and party buses. And I thought, oh yeah, because it makes more logical sense to carry a bunch of people in a party bus or a Sprinter van than just a stretched out car. But I thought, and I thought it makes a lot of sense from a business standpoint, and I guess it's safer in a way because I mean, getting into an accident on a party bus is more stout compared to just a fragile, stretched out car. I mean, there's been a lot of accidents with limos, and they never end well because basically the whole car is just stretched by a piece of aluminum. and fiberglass, so they're not really sturdy machines. But I will miss seeing like just a crisp, blacked out town car rolling up, or people doing the woo girl thing from the sunroofs. I mean, it was definitely a scene that we might not see anymore unless it's like for nostalgia effect. But it's just one thing that I didn't notice until I saw it. It's like, oh yeah, you don't see limos anymore. And if you do, they're for very specific reasons. Like even for weddings, like if it's for a wedding, you don't see limos. You see rented S-Class Mercedes Benz or Escalades, something like that, or big plush SUVs or luxed out Mercedes vans. And if you want to host a party, a bus, because there you go. You put disco lights in it, the whole thing. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, we dug up a little some statistics for this episode. The limousine service market is between 9 and 11 billion dollars globally. I did not expect that at all, and it's projected to grow another 5 to 7% over the next couple of years. But despite that growth, you're right. We're not seeing cars anymore, and it totally makes sense. They're just not as practical. And it's kind of funny that like that wasn't that it almost didn't happen faster, right? Because like SUVs and crossovers became popular purely out of practicality's sake, right? And it would have made sense, I think, probably even earlier than party buses came along for that to be the direction they go. You're trying to fit a ton of people, you're trying to have a good time, and being in a cramped vehicle is never really a good time. So, yeah, super interesting. Super interesting. So next time you see a limo out there, everybody, just kind of like tip your hat because it's a dying breed. All right. Quick PSA: if you own a Ford, check to see if it has a recall.
Absolutely.
How
I
do
mean,
people do that, Jesus?
very easy. If you have no idea, you can just type in Ford recalls, whatever car you're driving, and something that's gonna pop out. I know they have an official website to check out for recalls, but if you just don't want to navigate and go to it, just Google search it. Hey, your car, whatever it is, recalls, and something's gonna pop out. And we say that because Ford has been having a tough year and just announcing massive recalls on what seems like on a bi-monthly basis these days. Like the last one was like 1.5 million recall. And for what I didn't even follow the I was like, I didn't because I was just like, oh, geez. So basically, just to cover your bases, if you own a modern-ish Ford vehicle at the moment, SUV, car, whatever it is, just do a safety check. Check if it has any serious recalls, just to clear your head. Peace of mind.
Peace of mind, man. Peace of mind. There you go. Wall Street Journal. This is back in July, I believe. Yeah, July 11th. And in July, it had broken the annual record for safety recalls within the first 6 months of the year.
And
Absolutely
have been announced.
crazy. Through the end of June, they had issued 88 safety recalls, according to federal data. Uh, we've talked about this on the podcast several times, I think. The official website for anyone who wants to go look their recall up is nhtsa.gov/recalls. That is the place to go. And once you're there, you'll need your VIN number. So you can find that in your car, in the door card. You can find it on the windshield, or I should say on the dash underneath the windshield.
Or your insurance card, vehicle insurance card.
Yeah, it's just insane. 2 days ago, 2 days ago, Ford recalled 101,944 Taurus sedans
Oryx, that's going way back.
for detaching B pillar trim. Uh, I have not checked if my Ford Flex has a recall currently.
I would assume it has at least one or two.
Yeah, it would not shock me even in the tiniest bit. Um, but
Like
it's
I'm
in the
sure,
shop right now, so
yeah, I'm sure my Crown Vics have a few recalls, but they're old police cars, so they got way more problems than just a recall.
Yeah, fair play, fair play. Now let's talk Toyota hybrids, bro.
All right.
You just got back from
Yep.
driving the Forerunner for a week.
Yes.
Which trim did you have? I should
I
be able to tell by this. It looks like a TRD.
People assume that because it's got the off-road package, but no, this is the 2025 Toyota 4Runner IMAX Force Hybrid with the Trail Hunter package.
Oh, it's the trail. So this is the tippity top, everybody. Just so you know, you can't really get one that's more expensive than this thing.
And it had, Everest green with the bronze wheels. It looked great. And then, the Trail Hunter package adds, like metal skid plates, rock rails on the sides, got the roof rack on top, and you get, fog lights, an LED light bar in the front, which you can't turn on. You can't have the fog lights and the light bar on at the same time. That was a little disappointing. You had to have one or the other. But the fog lights come in white and amber. You can just switch them, which I think is pretty cool. And of course, you have like the integrated, air compressor in the back. You have the little lantern on the side of the door that you can pull out, and of course, the JBL Bluetooth speaker pops off from the center of the dash. You can just carry it with you, which I get it. All those three things are kind of cool to have embedded in the vehicle, but
Yeah.
they're also things that you can just pick up at Walmart for under $100. So I'm not sure that helps justify the cost of this thing because the MSRP on that particular model that I test drove was 69,000 and change. So basically 70 grand, not including any dealer markups or financing, tax and licenses. So when you figure all that, you're probably gonna be paying close to six figures for a 4Runner. And my main issue with that is, while it does have a very cool hybrid powertrain, a 2.4 liter, does make over 320 horsepower and over 460 pound-feet of torque, so it does get up and go really nice. I mean, I averaged at the highest 16 miles per gallon, which is, I mean, that's not good for a hybrid. I would assume so. I mean, and I know Forerunners have never been good about gas mileage, but considering all the money invested in coming up with this powertrain to replace the old V6 and the old 5.7 V8s with Tundras, I don't see the benefit. Like, it looks like Toyota went a very long way to not go very far with these new hybrid engines. And anyone I talked to who loves Forerunners loved it until I told them the price tag. They're like, "What? Really?" Yes. So if you have to have a new Forerunner, maybe consider the non-hybrid ones. I mean, I know it's a lot less power, but maybe it's a little bit more affordable. I will say these hybrid powertrains, they do feel very fast, but again, you have to deal with the fake engine noises, and it's a hybrid powertrain that doesn't get, you know, it's not gonna give you Prius mileage, which is what people assume when they have a Toyota hybrid, because that's the reputation. Again, and the range on that Trail Hunter was terrible. Like I drove under 200 miles, real world miles, before I had to go fill it up again because the range was 50 miles, and the range when it was a full tank when I got it was only 300 miles. So realistically, conservatively, when you drive it conservatively on the city, you might get between 200 and 250 actual miles out of a full tank because it's kind of a small tank. So that means if you take this thing on like a long weekend off-road excursion, you might need to bring gas cans with you because if you're far away from the gas station, you might not make it because in full-wheel drive, that thing gets even more thirsty because it's using more power. So that also kind of hinders performance. Like, what am I doing with this hybrid off-road SUV if it still drinks like a V8 or an old V6? So that's where I'm kind of like dealing and struggling with the logic behind this. But the thing I hated the most on this SUV was the GPS because it's hidden behind a paywall. Like Toyota's GPS is now part of a system that you have to subscribe to with the Toyota app, and it costs between 15 to 25 bucks a month, and GPS is included. It's like cool, but that means I gotta pay money just to use GPS. And if thankfully I can use CarPlay and just use that. But the fact that Toyota, of all car brands, is putting paywall for some of these features is just infuriating. Like that really, really bothered me. Both as a Toyota fan and as a car buyer and as a journalist. It's like, why? I mean, there's so many other stuff that they can add as extra, but GPS is something that everybody uses. But to put that behind a paywall and really annoying.
Yeah, man, there's so much to talk about when it comes to Forerunner, and as we're kind of scrolling through the review I wrote about it when I got to drive it earlier this year, I thought overall the package was really nice. It was a solid SUV. It's clearly very, 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 very capable,
But yeah, definitely.
especially when it's in the Trail Hunter or the TRD Pro. Both of those wildly capable. Uh, one of my colleagues at Car Scoops recently did a piece on a automotive mechanic who was basically like, look, the reality is like, why are you at if you own one of these, why are you adding anything to it? Leave it alone. It's
Sometimes
it's already gonna do, what 95% of people want it to do. You don't need to be jacking the suspension up or
adding 35s. You
yeah,
get,
you just don't need it.
but
You know, say that again.
people are still gonna do it. That's the funny thing.
It is the funny thing. You're totally right, and it's so stupid. It's such a waste of money. But anyway, my point only is being that I think you might be right that the non-hybrid versions could be the butter zone there, at least for
Yeah,
long term reliability. Preparing for this episode, we found a little bit of data that suggested that like hybrids can be as reliable as gas only cars. But I think that the trouble with that one potential issue with that data is that it's not really taking into account cars that are 10, 15 years old. It's
yeah.
only taking into account cars that are like 5 to 7 years old. And that's
Basically,
fine, but they're still pretty new,
yeah,
right?
that's a lease. So that means they have a limited mileage. If it's a lease, that means they can drive over a certain amount of mileage over the year. You would assume that most of them do get serviced at a dealership because it's a lease. They're not taking in considering like, all right, what about 3 owners in? What about when they're in the used car lot? What about 100,000 miles, 80,000 miles deeply? Like, okay, I mean, and again, like we talked about, Toyota in the 2000s, that's when they cemented their reputation for bulletproof cars. So it's like, all right, cool, get a Corolla. Doesn't matter, 2005, 2006, 300,000 miles. Someone's still gonna ask 4 grand for it because they know, yeah, it's got more life in it. Same thing with all these Forerunners, Tundras, Tacomas, Camrys, anything. Like I really want 2007 Avalon because I rode in one once and it's cemented in my head. Like this thing is so freaking smooth and comfortable and luxurious. But I try finding one online on marketplace. I mean, they all even though they're totally toasted, they still want 4,000 miles for them. Like, come on, this thing's got like 250,000 miles. Like, yeah, but it's a '07 Avalon. All right. So that
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to carry on later on.
I questioned that too. I wrote about that a lot in this article that it's really Toyota's reputation is gonna come down to these next 5 or 10 years. Like clearly the old Toyotas, while maybe not as fuel efficient as new ones, have this reputation that you just can't kill them, right? Like Toyota Hilux. Every car guy knows exactly what a Toyota Hilux is. Most of us have watched it fall from the top of a building that was demolished and still run,
Yep.
right? Like that's like ingrained in our brains is like that's the kind of vehicle that Toyota builds. And it's interesting. So for this episode, of course, we're doing research, and I genuinely thought a couple of things. I thought no chance that hybrids are as reliable, probably even short term. I was wrong there. I've already brought up the fact that I think longer term is still yet to be seen. But more interestingly, I thought, you know what, maybe this is just a product of cars are more disposable today. And it turns out I'm entirely wrong about that.
Hmm.
I did not realize the average US vehicle age hit a new record recently of 12.6 to 12.8 years old. So the truth is that people are keeping their cars longer now than they ever have before. So if that's the case, then like we're getting into like sticky territory
Yeah.
in the upcoming years. And here's something that I don't think we talk enough about. You know, you look at the TRD Pro and you look at the Trail Hunter and even some of the trims that are just below it. They are wildly capable,
Yep.
right? But they are not available with the gas only engine. You have to commit to buying the hybrid if you want anything in the top tier. And I think that will end up potentially coming back to bite Toyota. And it might bite other automakers who are going down that same route of, you know, if you want the nicest thing, you're going to have the hybrid. I I've got mixed feelings on hybrids. I really do. I've got a close family member who's owned three Toyota hybrids. They are currently on their third one, and they're on their third one because the first two died in a way that they didn't feel comfortable repairing.
Okay.
Both died because of the hybrid system, not a mechanical something else going on.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. We'll see. I think only time will tell.
So I'm very curious to see if anybody out here has or still rolling around in like a 20 early 2010s Toyota Prius or any one of those old hybrids and still has zero issue with them or has been upkeeping them and without any problems, let us know. Did you have to replace the battery cells already? If so, what was that? Was that a nightmare to deal with? I'm curious because I know that's the big fear with hybrids. Like, oh no, what if the battery clunks out and I have to replace that whole thing? It's like that could happen. Same thing would happen with a gasoline engine. Oh, you broke a head gasket. Now you got to do that. It's a pain in the ass for labor. But I'm very curious to see because these new Toyotas since the pandemic, I've been looking at them and I know they've been. It's funny because they perfected their drivetrains and then they just ditched them all for this new one. And like I know they're trying to be innovative, and I'm a huge Toyota supporter because I mean I own a Toyota, but I just don't see the benefit of all this effort that we put into it. Because I mean, like a new Tundra, you're telling me that V6 hybrid twin turbo is as suitable and as powerful and as strong as the 5.7 V8 that they replaced? Like, I don't think so. I think the 5.7 was perfect. And I've driven the new Tundras, and the gas mileage wasn't as advertised, because even on the Maroni for the Forerunner, it said 22, 23 mpg, and I'm like, how did I get that? To me, it seems impossible. On the computer, it said that the best average I got was 18. I'm like, you probably got 18 driving 60 or 55 on the highway. That's the only way, and that doesn't exist in Texas. Texas, you're gonna do 75, 80, 85, and you want to because the truck can do it. It gets up to speed so quickly, you forget. You just want to zoom all the way. So it's kind of like, well, and it goes back to the point, all right, $70,000. What exactly am I getting? You're getting a very capable 4x4, cool, but do I need to spend $70,000 just to go off-road? It's just like, again, so like you said, 5 to 10 years, we're gonna see how all these Toyotas age in terms of mileage.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm excited to see how it goes. I really am. You know, I trust Toyota is doing what they can to innovate. I recognize that there's a lot of regulatory pressure on them to really improve fuel economy quickly, you know. But you know, things are changing now, at least in the USA. You know, the EPA is changing up a lot of stuff. It'll be interesting to see if automakers kind of backtrack on some of their fuel economy targets because they've got a lot more freedom now,
Yep.
or what happens.
Speaking of that, Toyota, back when all that stuff was going on, when everybody was saying, we're going to be full electric by 2025, 2030, Toyota was one of the few, probably the only one, who said, you know what, we're going to wait, see how it all pans out. Meanwhile, we're going to focus on hybrids. And I love that. All right, cool. They're not following the crowds. They're sticking to their guns, what they feel is right. And I think it paid off because they don't have to backpedal like a lot of these companies are doing now. Like, and they're like, oh crap, we get to scrap all this EV stuff. Like Dodge, Ram just canceled their EV truck. It's like, you know why? Because they're building a Hellcat Dodge Ram. That's what they're gonna do. You know it's coming. They're gonna Hellcat everything now. which is great. That makes me a lot of fun. But I can't imagine how much money they spent developing that just all right, just scrap it, throw it away, something else. Must have been a hard one to swallow. Just like, oh God, how many billions was that? Oh shoot. All right, cool. Oh well, we'll make it up with V8s.
Yeah, I can only imagine what that must feel like. Like, I genuinely feel bad for the engineers that put a ton of time, probably years, into that project, all for Ram to be like, yeah, so, nah, I'm not going to do that after all.
People have spoken, scrap it.
Yeah.
Oh, by
So,
the way, Steven, are you driving anything this week? Anything cool?
no, I'm still waiting on a new car. Although I am going to reach out this coming week. I got a couple irons in the fire on that. So, looking
I,
forward to it. I've
I
got
got
a, go ahead.
I got cars set up for at least November. I don't have a
That's
SUV.
exciting.
But that's what people are buying, so that's what I'm gonna drive. But I've noticed that a lot of journalists in Texas are kind of struggling with cars these days. I don't know what the problem is. People are getting run around, or they're getting ignored, or they're just being lied to straight up. Like, no, the car's in the shop, and then they see that I got it. And I'm not special. It's just that I write for a prestigious newspaper, the Houston Chronicle. That's the only reason I get cars. Because other than that, it'd be a huge logistical nightmare for me because I'm way down south compared to people who live in Dallas, Houston, Austin area. Uh, but I'm not complaining.
I wouldn't either. All right, let's move on to our last subject of the day. I just got back from California.
Mhm.
That was a ton of fun. Let me just tell you, all the annoyance of travel, which let me tell you, there was a lot. I had to get up at 3:30 on Wednesday morning. Actually, I had to get up at 3 and be out of the house by 3:30 to get to the airport so that I could be on a plane at 5:13 in the morning. Flew to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta flew like right over my house in Little Rock to go to California. Spent the entire day Thursday at Sonoma Raceway having an absolute blast. Now, I can't talk about drive impressions for the new Corolla Cross or the GR Corolla. I cannot talk about impressions for either of those. I can talk about the Supra Final Edition. I can talk about the GR86. You and me have both driven the Supra Final Edition recently.
I drove the last moment, just a 2025.
Well, never mind. We haven't both driven the Final Edition. That's just me.
Yeah,
But I will say they are largely identical.
yeah.
And my goodness, dude, a couple of big takeaways from that event. Interesting to note that we've just come off of this hybrid discussion. Not a single GR car is a hybrid.
They're all
Not the
gas.
86, not the Supra, not the Corolla, none of them. Now, I do believe in other markets there are like, kind of like Hyundai has the N Line. There is like the GR Line or the GR Sport or something like that. And I think some of those are probably hybrids. But let's stay away from that topic because I don't know enough about it to talk about it. What I can tell you is fascinating to see what Toyota has done with a lot of these GR cars in terms of like these little incremental improvements. Uh, and I think what blew me away most on the track was the Toyota had us drive the oldest version of a car and then 1 year newer and then 1 year newer so that
Oh,
we could feel the slight improvement over time. Now, a couple of problems with this that make it more subjective than objective than I would like. One, we only got one lap in each car
okay.
initially. Now we were able to go back out and lap after the initial demonstration. We could go out in whatever car we wanted as long as we wanted, and that was way more beneficial to me. But in that first run where you're driving the oldest, then slightly newer, and then the newest, the differences were pretty amazing, pretty stark, pretty crazy. Especially because the differences that we're talking about are like the brakes are slightly different, or you know, trailing arm design is slightly different, or things of that nature, right? Like very what I think most people would consider super super subtle adjustments,
Yeah.
and yet on a racetrack, boy, do they show up. Now, again, another subjective potential issue is that, these older cars that are 1 or 2 years old, they have 1 or 2 years worth of like driving on them, right? Like
Right.
the components are worn down a little bit. Like they're automatically not going to feel as rigid, new, stiff, all those good things. So I will just say a wildly fun day. Uh, Again, I can't talk about how anything drove, or at least the Corolla Cross and the GR Corolla. The Supra and 86 are a bucket of fun. They're just a
Okay.
bucket of fun. The
Yeah.
the 86 is so approachable. You really just can just grab it by the scruff of the neck and do whatever you want. And it's easy to pilot, easy to handle. Um, you know, Last week we had Michael Bealey on here, and he showed us how to lap in the 86. There's no way I came anywhere close to any of his times, and I'll tell you why. It's because of a couple major things. One, I'm horrible compared to him. Two, they did not let us take the final corner at speed,
Wow.
and required us all to stop on the home straight. So even if I had utterly nailed every other segment, I would have been behind Michael in that segment of the run. Um, and they also put a ton of cones out, which is fine. They're helping everybody see where the racing line needs to be anyway, right? So if you're hitting the racing line, the cones don't super duper matter. And as the day went on, I felt more and more and more comfortable there. Um, another
Again,
inch. Go ahead.
they don't want anyone to kill themselves because they understand that automotive journalists don't translate into race car drivers.
Yeah, that's very true. No doubt about it. I will say, as far as I am aware, nobody stuffed anything for at
Really?
least the first 2 days, which
Yeah.
is great. On the back straight, you can get up well over 100 miles an hour. And if you're not careful, you're getting up to 100, or you're cresting over triple digits as you're making this big sweeping left. And it's as you make the left, you're about to barrel into a hard right. So you're accelerating, braking while turning, and then changing your direction of travel, all while trying to come down from this speed. It feels very sketchy. And I'm actually really surprised that they did the layout that they did, because there's a secondary layout where when you crest over one of the S's, now you just end up kind of on a straight to the very last turn. To me, that would have probably been a lot safer, because there's no chance for any kind of squiggly action there towards the end of the lap. But as it was more challenging, and felt way more enjoyable, in my opinion, toward the end there. We also had the chance to do professional laps with two professional drivers. Um, and so I can tell you that in a real GR Corolla race car,
Yeah.
holy moly, that thing is capable. And the driver, I forget his name. I'll try to pin it somewhere in the description below, everybody. He put on a masterclass. I mean, he was so good behind the wheel, uh, so fast, and the amount of trust that he puts in the car is unbelievable. And I get that he's a professional race car driver, so of course he's got a lot of trust in the car. His name is Weston Workman. Great dude. Lexus IS owner, so him and I connected on that. Um, and just an incredible lap. So much faster than I could ever dream of going. Now, granted, we're talking a real race car again with real sticky tires and all the stuff that goes along with it. But then Ryan Turek, I think that's how you say his last name, from he's a professional drifter. He took me out in the GR Corolla allegedly a bone stock GR Corolla. And I will just say, I'm not giving you my personal feelings about it. What he can do with that car is utterly insane. Utterly insane. And when the video comes out, I think it's on Wednesday that the embargo lifts. Everybody go watch that over on my channel and Car Scoop's channel. I will have an extended version on my own channel. Car Scoops has the main rally lap that I did with him, and my channel will have a little bit of stuff pre and post the actual lap. Utterly insane. And people who know me know that I already want a GR Corolla. I really want a GR Corolla after understanding what it can do at the hands of someone who knows what they're doing.
I had a question. So they had different model years for testing and comparison. Did you ask how they got those cars? Like they just borrowed from users, like, hey, can I wear your car to let a bunch of Yahoos drive from the track for a minute? We'll pay for the tires. Or were they
No,
like
that's a
involved with that type of thing?
yeah, that's a great question. That's something I'll have to ask. I should have asked that. That is an awesome question. I am guessing that these are all development cars that they have hung on to.
Cool.
I should have checked mileage in them, and maybe if I go back and look at some of my footage, that'll be obvious. But I'm guessing that these are all just development cars that they've hung on to because just based on the amount of abuse that we put them through, man, they've got to be development cars. Considering how well they were taken care of, I will say too, credit to them because these things we would literally go do an entire lap at as hard as we could possibly go. We'd pull into the pit lane basically for just a second. And if there was no one ahead of us and no other thing to do, they would just let us go right back out. And these cars did that all day long. I can speak to how the older cars drove.
Yeah.
And let me just say to everyone, GR Corolla from 2020, I think it's 2023 is the first year, and then 2024, outstanding cars. Outstanding cars. I cannot believe that there's ever any debate about what the best hot hatch is out there because it's cheaper than Golf R, which is front wheel drive biased and stays front wheel drive biased, whereas GR Corolla can be rear wheel drive biased. GR Corolla is better on dirt than every other hot hatch out there. It blows Honda Civic Type R out of the water. Honda Civic Type R can't even go off road, really.
No.
Elantra N, same story. Now I will say this: I've seen all the races. I've seen all the test comparisons where Type R is faster on a track, where Elantra N beats it in Edmonds U-Drags. I can't speak to what's going on there, but put all these cars on dirt because that's where the GR Corolla belongs, and it'll spank them. It'll just spank them. So utterly amazing. Hope everyone who's listening checks out the pieces. Corolla Cross goes live on Tuesday, I want to say. Hang on. No, Corolla Cross goes live on Wednesday. GR Corolla goes live on Thursday.
I like that if they are just like developing cars that just kept, I like that they do that because usually you hear about test cars, prototypes that do all the work and testing and they just get crushed at the end because they can't sell them, which I thought was kind of sad. So I like that they had the foresight to at least keep them for something else. Like, hey, look, we can still tinker with these. We can still base the new ones off these and just keep them on as like running test mules. That was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. And the little details, man, are crazy. Like, they changed the trailing arm in the GR Corolla. They added more structural adhesive, like a lot of structural adhesive. They made the ground contacts for the battery bigger to improve acceleration and steering feel. I'm going to write an entire piece on that. How bigger ground contacts make your car go faster. Like it's like what a silly concept, but it's totally functional. Like, and the fact that they did it just goes to show you how detail oriented they are about these cars.
I mean, obviously, we are not engineers by a long shot, but that little detail sounds like a eureka moment for some engineer going like, "I got it, I got it." So simple. And they start like after like 2 days of no sleep, like, this is what we gotta do.
I think you're totally right, and I love that they're so thoughtful about stuff like that.
Well, my hat's off to them for all that thinking involved. That is a lot of thinking,
Yeah, you're
testing.
right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's a lot of testing. It's a lot of time to do that kind of simple stuff that you and I would probably never think about.
No, I mean just we. I mean we complain and bitch about doing maintenance on our own cars. I can't imagine having to do all that work and then it doesn't work. The car's slower now. Damn it.
Yeah, or we tell ourselves with the butt dyno that it's way better than it was.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, that's gonna wrap us up for this week. Don't forget, if you got a Ford, check your recalls, and by all means, let us know what you think of Toyota hybrids. Do you own one? How long have you had it? How's it doing? Has it had any major issues? And yeah, we'll be back next week with more. Jesus, tell them again where they can get your artwork.
Yeah, it's just if you just Google Jesus behind the wheel, you're gonna see all my stuff because that is my brand, that is my tag for everything, social media, website, all that good stuff. Uh, my artwork is digital, so you can buy digital files from me directly. You just tell me what size you want, and I'll send it to you. If you want custom work, I can do that too. And I don't charge thousands of dollars, although people say I should, but I won't. But yeah, check it out. Even if you're just a fan of want to see my work, it's a gallery. Feel free to watch, conserve, say that it sucks if you want to, or you love it, doesn't matter. It's all good feedback.
All right. Any other notes for our listeners before we go?
No, just a big old thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, everyone. Goodbye, everybody.